Hey traders, Raghee here, and in this free recap video, we're going to talk about the S&P, multiple time frames, and sector weighting. Yes, it's a lot to talk about, but these are concepts that we've talked about in the past and certainly ones that we'll continue to talk about in the future. And so the first thing is, when you're looking at the S&P right now, the thing to remember is it's absolutely in an uptrend at the moment. And I don't think that's anything that's surprising to anybody, but let's talk about market structure. Because a big part of structure for me is watching the green grab candles as well as watching propulsion dots, and how often and how successfully have we corrected or retraced or had a reversion to the wave. And I think a lot of folks look at reversions or retracements or corrections, and the question is always, well, to where? Where could the market pull back to? In the last two pullbacks that we've had, really three, but that takes us back to January, but the last two pullbacks we've had in the last 30 days have successfully hit the 34 EMA wave and bounced. And once the market broke above the wave and then broke above the 200 EMA, for me, I had to really accept that this could be a prolonged move to the upside. But notice how much time I do give it. In order to follow trends with a lot of conviction, you have to be able to hang on to a certain amount of bias based on certain thresholds being broken. The first threshold being the candles going from blue to green, and then the other threshold for me on the daily time frame specifically is getting through the 200 EMA. So the last two pullbacks have been buys. Now, while that happens, I mentioned we're going to talk about multiple time frames, and so what we're also looking at are intraday or even day trading opportunities. Day to day, what are the potential opportunities? Now, certainly, I'd rather generally be long and follow the overall direction of the market. That's not always going to be a possibility, but generally speaking, I'd rather do that. However, on days like today, notice what we have here. We have a market that's very choppy. And I won't know that we're in a choppy market until about 30 to 40 minutes after the bell. I don't think there's really any clear way with consistency to know that the market's going to be choppy until we've had about 30 minutes to 40 minutes after the bell has rung and we see what the kind of market structure has formed. So at this point, what we did this morning, and the last thing I mentioned to the traders in the chat room was, let's use this volume weighted average price as the overbought oversold, and we'll continue to fade from one end to the other. And that's pretty much what we've seen. But again, I won't know that till about 10:15 Eastern. Now, simultaneously, there's something else interesting that's happening. And let me take you on over there. And that is what's happening with the XLF. I would really love for traders to understand sector weightings and individual stock weightings when they're trading. And one of the things to keep in mind is, from a sector weighting standpoint, is XLF is a heavily weighted sector within the S&P, as is healthcare. That means that if we don't see leadership from tech, we can look at the XLF and, not or, and the XLV, healthcare and financials, to possibly move the S&P. Let me give you a couple ideas here, because these are two that we've got our eye on right now in the futures room as we look at the S&P to financials to individual stocks within the financials weighting. We're watching pretty closely at Chubb pulling back into the wave as it has before, and we're also looking at American Express to do the same thing. Let me show you right here. And so these to me are all connected trades. When I say connected, I mean these are all trades that are emanating from watching the S&P, watching the heavily weighted sectors, and then individual stocks that are moving in a way that's stronger than what the XLF is doing, because generally speaking, because the S&P is moving higher, I'd rather look at stocks that are moving with that strength. So that's how we get to AXP and Chubb, CB. So take a look at those, and I'll see you in the next update.